you knew the right thing to say when a prospect pushes back, you'd close way more deals. I know this because I use these exact objection handling tactics to close multiple 8-figure companies, even when they're throwing 2 or 3 sales objections at me in one call. And in this video, I'm going to go over exactly how to use these objection handling when a prospect is pushing back so that you can go in a sales course feeling a lot more confident and in control. Now, you're always going to be getting different kinds of objections. As you can see here, prospects are going to hit you with everything under the sun just to avoid them telling you the truth. And as you can see just in this little diagram here, a lot of the time you're going to solve that friction or those objections during the discovery phase. So you want to find out everything you can during your discovery. I always say between discovery and sales, it's like an 80-20 split. If you can go through the discovery in a really in-depth manner that gets, that prospect to really think about their situation, their real problems, not just, at a first level, at a 10 levels deep, by asking why, you're going to get them to this stage and emotion where they're just hyperactive and they're ready to buy. They're either really emotional and they're ready to buy, or they're really emotional and thinking about their whole life and they might not buy. But you need it in one of the two. They can't just be in this stage where they're not really feeling emotional or they're not really feeling, any sort of need to kind of make a change. All right? You need to make them feel that their whole current situation is completely backwards and wrong, and they need to fix it ASAP. So I'm just going to go through the 3 most common objections that you'll get hit with a lot of the time. I need to think about it, a pricing objection, and a partner objection, whether it's their wife, their girlfriend, or their business partner. Now, I'm not going to go through the actual discovery chunk. If it's needed, you guys can comment, or I'll just make, another video going through discovery and strategy, what's said in each. But this video is solely going to be about what to say when the objection comes up. So I've made a little kind of doc here just to go through the main ones here. So coming off the bat, I need to think about it. I'm sure we've all heard this one. I've heard it a million times, but there are ways to get around it. And you can do it by setting off the frame right off the bat to make sure they don't say this. All right, to make sure they either give you a yes or a no. So it's all about tonality. So ending it in a soft tone to make sure they don't feel like you're too pushy. But if you end it in a soft tone and more of a friendly kind of conversational matter, it's going to come across much more, friendly rather than assertive. Because if it comes off too assertive, it can make them feel like they're being pushed into a corner. And straight away, they're not going to want to actually open up, tell you all the insights, all of that stuff. So just quickly, John, for example, before I go through, how everything works, is it cool if I just ask you for a quick favor? Saying it in that kind of tonality, high pitch, friendly, they're going to feel like, of course, like he wants a favor, why not? I'll help him out where I can. So then you're going to want to say, perfect. Well, by the end of this call today, there's only 3 things that can happen just by experience. I found out that you can either say, hell yeah, like I'm ready to go, let's do it. You can say, no way, get out of my face, never talk to me again. Or you can say, I need to think about it. Can you send me some more info, the numbers, so I can run it? All right. Now, usually that's just a polite way of saying no. I know that, you know that. And I don't think you're going to have that situation as you're an action taker from what I've kind of heard. But since I know we're both busy, at the end of this, could you just do me a favor and give me a hell yes or a hell no? Get out of my face so that we don't waste each other's time. So setting that right off the bat, I know I've slowed that down. Usually I say that very quick in a 10-second matter. Just be like, hey, John, blah, 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 blah. Just give me a yes or a no by the end of this call. We save each other time and everything will move much more efficiently. But the main goal behind that is to just make sure that you're getting everything out of the way. There's no hesitation. So off the bat, they're going to be like, all right, this is serious. I'm going to pay attention. I'm either going to say yes or I'm going to say no. Because you don't want to be wasting time, and it's going to get them to make sure you don't want to waste time either. So let's break this down. So right here, you ask them for a favor. They're going to feel like, why not? I'll give you a favor, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of like framing something before you're actually saying it. So say you say something, the harsh truth. You usually say, can I be completely honest? Then you say the harsh truth. This is the exact same here. So you're giving him 3 options that usually get said, and you're saying you can only give me 2. So you're eradicating pretty much right off the bat them saying, oh, I need to think about it. So a lot of their mind throughout the whole strategy is going to be this is good or this is bad. Okay. And right here, you're kind of assuming they're an action taker as well. It's going to get them to feel, in the book of, it's Psycho-Cybernetics, I'm pretty sure. If you label someone, it's the book, what's it called? How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you've read that book, there's something where you give someone a label, they live up to it. You say, to me, it seems like you're an action taker. Once they hear that, they'll live up to it. All right, I'm an action taker now. I got to show this guy that I can fulfill that label he's given me. Okay, so you say that, they now become an action taker. They're either yes or no. They make decisions. There's no ambivalence kind of in their decision-making process. So this is how you're going to get rid of, I need to think about it. They will not say this at all if you say this in your, right off the bat. All right, next one, pricing objection. Now, everyone hates a pricing objection. You do not want to decrease your pricing because someone can't afford it. Yes, you can't work with everyone. We all know that. Some people just, aren't the right fit. But you usually kind of uncover that during the discovery process. So you give your price, it's 10K for this. 10K, sorry, I can't do that. It's way too expensive. We've all heard something like that, way too expensive. So many people get so defensive. You cannot get defensive in kind of what you're saying. Because when you get defensive, it shows cracks in yourself and they kind of build up friction and then there's no more reciprocity. You guys could be like this. And as soon as that pricing objection comes in, you start getting defensive. Well, we're doing this. So it makes sense. Bang. You guys are no longer kind of in reciprocity. It's gone out the window. The rapport's lost. So you need to figure out a way to get around this. And sales, the way you should just think about it is just uncovering. If you've read the book, Never Split the Difference, they talk about black swans. Now, black swans, they're rare. A black swan's rare. They're really hard to find. And it symbolizes the real kind of truth, the real problem. That's the black swan. So you've got to figure out what that is. What is the real objection? Because half of the time, pricing objections comes down to two things. It's just a smokescreen or it's just a way for them to kind of get around actually telling you the truth. Or they don't see the value in what you're providing. So you want to mirror them firstly. Now, mirroring is literally just repeating the main word of their sentence back to them. So they say, oh, that's expensive. It costs 10K. All I would say is expensive. And it works so well because then they talk and they talk for so long that they reveal the real truth. So I'd be like, expensive? They'll be like, oh yeah, well, I don't know if I can afford that. I got my mortgage to pay my wife. My wife won't be too sure. All right. So it's a partner problem then. So it's a mortgage problem. Do you not think, and you keep going down that kind of mortgage, you just keep repeating. I know it sounds dumb when you say it, but they don't pick up on it. I use this in everything. I use it in pretty much every argument I have, not even for business related, just outside of business, even in business calls as well. But when you do that, you're not kind of trying to, be in battle or defend what you're kind of offering. You're just letting them uncover their real truth. So you want to do that. So you're uncovering the smoke stream here. That's the goal right here. So next question is, they bring up whatever it is. If they don't bring up, the objection, so 9 times out of 10, you'll be expensive, and they'll go, oh yeah, well, I got to talk to my wife. Bang. So it's a wife problem. You come down to this partner objection. But there are other slim chances they'll go, yeah, it's just too expensive for me. I cannot afford that at this point. That's where you go to this one here. So you go, no worries. I completely understand that. Money aside for a second, do you think that everything I've shown you is enough to get you to that goal that, you and I discussed? This will uncover whether it's a value problem. Sometimes people might say it's expensive because they don't think the value adds up. What has to happen is you have to make sure your value is 10 times the price. So they should be thinking, if it's 5K, they should be thinking it costs 50K. They're like, this is going to be so expensive. You tell them it's 5K. They're like, what? Is that it? All right. That's what I mean. It has to, I'm not exaggerating. They literally have to think there's so much value. They're getting it for a bargain. All right. If this happens, I'll be like, oh yeah, I do see the value. It's just, it's expensive, blah, 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 blah. You go back to the discovery process. So you label them here. So labeling is it seems like, you don't say, I think this, because then it gets you to put yourself in the way. You just got to label them. It can be right or wrong. If it's right, they'll feel like you really emphasize and understand their situation, and they're likely to kind of figure out a way to kind of overcome their financial situation. If it's wrong, they'll correct you and give you the right answer anyway. So you'll be like, John, like it sounds like this is something you want to do. You know, you see the value in it, and it can get you to those goals. But I get it's just that financial situation at the moment that's not allowing you to afford it. It sounds like that mortgage is really taking a toll on the numbers in the business. Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. So you label them, you uncover that situation. They'll be like, yeah, that's exactly right, man. Then you go back to lifetime value and ROI, what they're going to get. So you bring in your results. John, literally like this company, exact same situation as you, same problem, similar goals. If we can bring in one of these clients that we talked about, now that's just one, I'm saying we can bring in 10. If we can bring in one of these, that's going to pay it off within the first week for that month. Like you're not understanding, John. So you bring it back around to lifetime value, okay? And this is where you want to talk about the ROI. You can even say to them, what would you rather pay? Because a lot of time people have money, they run a business, they have money. What would you rather pay? Something that costs $1,000 where you get $2,000 back? So it does cost less, and I'm sure you can find cheaper people than me out there, definitely. I'm not saying you can't. Or would you rather pay something that costs 10K and you get 100K back? Or they'll be like, blah, 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 whatever. Obviously the 10K one. Then you can say, all right, well, that's what I'm telling you we're going to do right here. You can also, in kind of any kind of scenario, you can say the bank example. If I told you, give me 10K right now and I'll give you 50K back, would you give me it? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Then you can assure them back on that. All right, John, that's exactly what I'm saying. For this guy, we got him this. For you, we're saying we can do this. You have to think in lifetime value. Don't think transactionally, think strategically. If we bring in one, that's 40K in revenue brought in if we go through those systems. So pricing objection 9 times out of 10 is just a smokescreen. It's never really about the price. Like I was saying up here, you want to mirror them. They'll go into the real problem. Oh yeah, it's expensive because I got this. Because my wife's got a holiday coming up they've got to pay for. Bang, straight away. Yeah, you know, it's a wife problem. So you're just going to go through the actual, you know, labeling, mirroring to find the real problem here, because there's always a black swan. All right, partner objection. Now there's 2 ways to overcome this one. It depends on your scenario and the way you do things. So if you go discovery call first, then sales call after. So you go discovery on Tuesday, sales on Thursday. Then you go about like this. So in your discovery process, you can actually ask the question, is it just you? Like, are you the only owner? Is there someone else that needs to see this to make a decision? Oh, no, it's just me. All right, perfect. So it's just you that makes the final decision, no one else? Yep. Bang. All right, done, sorted. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else to it. That's as easy as overcoming a partner objection, okay? If you do the discovery and sales in one, this is how you can overcome it. Now, there's 2 ways. You can obviously be like, all right, if you want to speak to your partner, I'll give you 5 minutes. I'm going to make a coffee. Give him a ring, see what he thinks. If he has any questions, we'll get him to jump on. Or you can just simply go through this kind of process here. So I say, blah, blah, blah. They'll be like, all right, well, I need to go speak to my business partner about this. Or you have to say, you don't defend yourself. You don't, try and overcome that. All you got to say is, all right, and what would happen if they said no? Now, there's 2 ways they can answer that. They can either be like, well, I'll do it anyways, like no matter what they say. All right, bang, that's a sale there. Okay? So if they're going to say, if they'll do it anyways, all right, let's get started now then. So that's gone. Second one is, I don't think I would do it if they say no. Okay? So if you say, what would happen if they say no? And they say back to you, I don't think I'd do it if they said no. You can then say, why do you think they would be against this? So that'll get rid of the smoke screen and tell you the real reason, right? A lot of the time they'll just be like, oh, because of this, we've tried this before and this agency didn't provide. Straight away, they've been burned before. That's the real problem. Okay? Or if they still don't want to say yes, which can happen, they can be like, oh, I don't know, I just can't do this. Like, I'm not too sure if it's the right decision. That I've got to speak to them and they wouldn't know either. Then you can be like, all right, well, does your partner know kind of the situation that you're struggling with at the moment, the problems? They'll be like, yes, blah, blah, blah. Then you go, all right, are they happy with that? Are they happy that you're struggling with this problem? They say, oh, no, obviously they're not happy. Then you can just be like, all right, so then why would they be opposed to you fixing something that they're not happy with? So this actually gets them to think. Obviously, what I'm about to say is from Hormozi. you can always, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, because it can pay off in the long run. So you have to rely on the past to get them to say yes almost. All right? Rely on their past problems that they're having right now that can be fixed. Because if they don't, they're going to continue having them. Their partner's going to be in the same situation, having the same problems for themselves. So it's kind of like a leading cycle. But this is how you want to overcome these objections. Obviously, there is many ways. This is what I found best. I have a pretty high closing rate when I do use these. But yeah, this is kind of all I wanted to go through today. Obviously, I might make a video now just going through what a discovery process should look like, how your pitch should be set out, and how the sales process should look like as well. But that's all from me today, guys. Honestly, just a short one. And if you have any questions, any videos you kind of want, leave it down in the comments below, and I'm happy to make a video on it. Thanks.